Imagine standing in Salah, your head lowered in sujood, your heart yearning to connect with Allah, and suddenly you wonder, am I even dressed correctly for this prayer? Are the clothes I'm wearing pleasing to Allah, or could they actually be preventing my prayer from being accepted? This question isn't small, it isn't trivial. For many Muslims today, especially brothers who wear trousers, suits, or office clothes, it comes up again and again. What about pants below the ankle? What about rolling them up just before prayer? What about that hadith where the Prophet Muhammad forbade gathering or tucking clothes during Salah? My dear brothers and sisters, today on Islamic Echoes we are going to uncover the truth about this issue, its meanings, its wisdoms, and its rulings. By the end of this journey, inshallah, you will not only understand the hadith, but you'll also see how deeply it connects to your relationship with Allah in Salah, and how even the smallest details of clothing can reflect the humility, arrogance in our hearts. Stay with me, because this is not just about fabric or pants. This is about the fire of hell, the honor of the believer, and the sacred connection between the servant and his Lord. Let us begin with the hadith itself. The Prophet Muhammad said, I was commanded to prostrate on 7 bones, the forehead, and he pointed to his nose, the hands, the knees, and the toes, and I was forbidden to fold back the hair or the garment. This hadith is recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, and it teaches us 2 things side by side: the correct way of prostrating with 7 parts of the body firmly on the ground, the prohibition of folding or gathering clothes or hair during Salah, because Salah is meant to be a complete act of submission. Even your garments are supposed to fall naturally, in humility, bowing and prostrating with you. When you tie them up or roll them specifically for Salah, it's as if you're trying to control what should naturally submit. With youth scholars explained that the word used in Arabic aft means to gather, tuck, or fold, in order to hold something back. So if a man ties up his thobe, folds his sleeves, or ties his hair for the purpose of Salah, he is going against this hadith. But, let's be clear, this hadith does not mean that you can't roll your sleeves when it's hot. It doesn't mean you can't wear a belt to hold your pants up. It doesn't mean you can't tuck in your shirt for work. The prohibition is only when you specifically fold, gather, or tie your clothes or hair for Salah itself. For example, a man wearing a long robe decides to tie it up before praying so it won't touch the floor. Someone with long hair ties it up only for Salah so it won't fall to the ground in sujood. This is what the Prophet Muhammad forbade, because Salah is an act of submission in which even your body and clothing should show humility before Allah. Now, Khalid's question adds another dimension. He says, at the office, I wear pants that go below my ankles, but before Salah, I roll them up. Is this permissible? To answer this, we must separate 2 issues. The Prophet Muhammad said, whatever part of the lower garment is below the ankles will be in the fire. In another narration, 3 will not be spoken to by Allah on the day of resurrection: the one who lets his garment drag out of pride, the one who reminds others of his charity, and the one who sells by false oaths. The scholars explained, if a man wears his garment below the ankle out of arrogance, it is a major sin that brings Allah's anger. If he does so without arrogance, it is still prohibited, though some scholars considered it a lesser sin. So in truth, a Muslim man should not be wearing pants or trousers that fall below the ankle at all, whether inside Salah or outside of it. Now, let's connect the dots. If a man spends his day wearing trousers below the ankles, which is itself problematic, but when the adhan is called he rolls them up to prayers, this fall under the hadith of gathering clothes in Salah? The scholars said, no, it is permissible, because here the rolling is not an act of unnecessary tucking, but an attempt to correct a wrong. You are fixing your clothes to bring them into conformity with the sunnah before you stand before Allah. So yes, rolling your trousers up before Salah is allowed, and in fact, it shows at least some respect for the prayer. But the better true sunnah is to make sure your clothes never fall below the ankles in the first place. That way you don't need to adjust or roll anything when you pray. Let's pause here for a moment and reflect on why this issue matters so much. Some people dismiss it. They say, it's just a few centimeters of cloth, why make it such a big deal? But think, the Prophet Muhammad is not exaggerating when he says that the part of the garment below the ankles will be punished in hell. Why? Because it represents arrogance. In pre-Islamic Arabia, wealthy men would let their garments drag on the ground as a display of pride and status. Islam came to kill that arrogance, to teach humility in every detail, every detail of in the way you dress. So, when you see Muslims today dragging their trousers, imitating modern fashion, we should ask ourselves, are we choosing style over suit? Are we risking Allah's anger for the sake of a trend? Let's get real for a moment. You're at the office, wearing a business suit. It's tailored, stylish, but the pants are long and cover the ankles. The adhan for dur is called. Do you walk to the prayer room like this, or do you roll them up? The correct approach is this. Ideally, as a Muslim man, your pants should already be tailored above the ankle. But if they're not, then yes, roll them up before Salah. Don't let arrogance or fashion blind you from what Allah has commanded. Scenario: you're at a wedding, dressed in formal clothes, trousers reaching down. Maghrib time enters. Will you stand before Allah in garments He warned against? Or will you take a moment to adjust, to honor the one you are praying to? These small choices reflect the state of your iman. Remember, the companions of the Prophet Muhammad were ready to sacrifice their wealth, lives, and comfort for Allah. Can we not sacrifice a little fabric? At the heart of this discussion is humility. Salah is the greatest act of submission. You bow your head, you place your face, the most honored part of your body, on the ground, declaring that Allah alone is great. So, what does it mean if you enter Salah with arrogance in your walk, in your clothes, in your attitude? How can the Salah of someone who insists on pride be the same as the Salah of someone who enters with humility? The Prophet Muhammad warned, no one who has an atom's weight of arrogance in his heart will enter paradise. Think about that. An atom's weight. How then about a garment that drags on the ground in pride now? Some sisters may ask, what about us? Does this apply to women too? The scholars explained that the ruling on garments below the ankles was specific to men, because for women, their covering is meant to be long and flowing for modesty. In fact, the Prophet Muhammad said that a woman's garment should extend, cover her feet. So for sisters, this hadith is not about the length of the garment, but the principle of humility and avoiding arrogance in clothing still applies. Whether man or woman, the believer's dress is always guided by modesty, humility, and obedience to Allah. The true lesson here is consistency. Don't treat clothing above the ankles as a prayer-only rule. Islam is a way of life, not a ritual you switch on and off 5 times a day. Tailor your clothes properly. Choose garments that reflect humility. Don't let culture, fashion, or workplace trends dictate your obedience to Allah. Remember, on the Day of Judgment, your colleagues will not stand with you to defend your choices. Only your deeds will, my dear brothers and sisters. Let us ask ourselves honestly, are we dressing to please Allah or to please people? Are we willing to adjust our clothing, our habits, and our lifestyle for the sake of Allah? Or do we hold on to excuses? The Prophet Muhammad gave us guidance not to make life difficult, but to protect us from arrogance, from hellfire, from neglect. Even the way we wear our pants can be a reflection of whether we're walking humbly as servants of Allah, or proudly as slaves of fashion. So, the answer to Khaled's question is clear. Rolling your trousers up before Salah is permissible, because it prevents you from praying in a state that angers Allah. But the better way is to live by the Sunnah, all the time wearing clothes that honor Allah, not just in prayer, but in daily life. Fifth, this message touched you. Share it with your brothers and friends. Sometimes, a small reminder about clothing can save a person from the fire and guide them to humility. And if you want more powerful reminders about Salah, Iman, and living Islam in today's world, subscribe to Islamic Echoes. Together, we will revive the spirit of faith, one echo at a time. This is Islamic Echoes, reminding you that every step, every prayer, every detail of life is a chance to draw closer to Allah.